A thread by Carlos Osuita. For Brian in Dorset. This is absolutely classic. Brian shows us why Donald Trump will easily win and it won't be close. Brian in Dorset tweets at Carlos. As I always say, he's about 1 billion times smarter than me, quoting from the Carlos thread. This is an interesting statement, which may be true, Carlos, but Trump is as thick as a brick. The idea that he is a genius appearing to be stupid is hilarious. Quoting Breitbart isn't a good look. I quoted the New York Times, not Breitbart, Carlos responds. Brian is so eager to demonstrate the power of his 2-watt brain that he commented without even reading the article. Everything I said was from the Times. Breitbart simply reprinted it without editorial comment. Leftists always underestimate their opponents, and leftists always deny reality. That's such a recipe for defeat that it boggles the mind. I know for a fact that the Chinese and Russian armed forces are total crap, but we need to consider them top notch. It would be suicidal to say, oh, they don't matter. Let's cut our defense spending by 90%. See, you'll always be surprised, unpleasantly, if you assume victory. But Carlos, you squeal, you keep telling us it's in the bag. Yes, I'm a cheerleader. It serves no purpose for me to tell everyone that we may lose. That never motivates people. Defeatism robs people of their will to even participate. Americans love winners. They want to be part of the victory. Cheerleading works. Trump has the best people in the world working on his reelection. I'm here to tell you that he's going to win hugely, and I always back it up. People like Brian in Dorset speak only in declaratives. Trump is stupid. What's your evidence? Because I say so. Here's the deal. Brian is hopeless. He's not dealing with a full deck. Therefore, his opinions are without value. He's read nothing about Trump, whereas I studied him extensively to see if he is as smart as I say. Yes, he is. Let's take one of the most brilliant foreign policy moves of all time. The Syrian Kurds. Kurds do not want an independent Kurdistan. The only thing Kurds are loyal to is political parties. There are Syrian Kurds, Iraqi Kurds, Turkish Kurds, and Iranian Kurds. The Iraqi Kurds fought a horrific civil war after we began protecting them from Saddam Hussein. The Syrian Kurds said they would fight any Iraqi Kurdish force that came to Syria to help them. Everyone was backed into corners of their own making. Then came Trump. We sent American troops to Syria to show the flag. That was their main function. Now, you need to understand how Kurds were treated before the Syrian civil war. They had no rights. During the war, they created a semi-autonomous region in northeast Syria. Assad said that he wouldn't tolerate it. Another goddamn war was brewing. So Trump and the Saudis found an answer. Out of the blue, Trump announced that U.S. troops were pulling out of Syria. We left the western part of the Kurdish zone, and within 48 hours, the Kurds announced that they'd reached an agreement with Assad. Status quo. The Kurds keep their semi-autonomous status. Suddenly, Syrian troops were all along the border showing the flag. They'd been flown there, not by Assad. Kurdish fighters were integrated into the Syrian army, and that was that. I actually read the agreement. That thing took years to negotiate. The Kurds and Syrians were in Saudi Arabia negotiating in secret. It never leaked. Trump did tweet something about the solution being unorthodox, which was his admission that all of this is true. The Turkish genocide of Kurds never happened. Assad got to claim victory, and face was saved all around. Trump played the bad guy. When Trump became president, we had major wars going on in Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and Libya. Now, no genuine combat footage is coming out of any of those places. The Islamic State is still active in the Sinai, ports of Africa, and parts of Asia. As always, experts are predicting the end of the world, but it won't happen. It appears that none of these people ever actually studied military issues. The analyses are always pro Islamic State in that these guys are presented as unstoppable. No victory will ever change their minds. Which brings us back to this guy. Cognitive rigidity is a lethal deficit. People who are cognitively rigid are easily defeated. They live in a world of fantasy. That makes them totally vulnerable to defeat by a mind as nimble and heterodox as that of Donald John Trump.